Kansas City Chiefs were back on the practice field once again for day 15 of training camp as the first preseason game of the year inches closer and closer, and there was a near catastrophe, I will say, for the offensive line, but it appears not to have been. The first thing I want to talk about is a team note. We get this from Matt McMullen on Twitter. Coach Reed says that each unit will play a quarter on Saturday against Jacksonville. The starters will play the first quarter, the second team will play the second quarter, and so on. Now, there are, of course, 90 players on the Kansas City Chiefs, so they will have likely enough players to have a 4 deep on the depth chart, but we will have a discussion about the depth chart itself tonight, I believe. If I can get around to making that video after making this one, I will drop that while I am asleep. So look for that probably in the 7 o'clock hour, I think. But this is an interesting note. The 3-game preseason is still a bit new, so seeing how each coaching staff is going to deal with that and, what are you going to do and win for your players in the preseason, there was a pretty dead set formula for the 4-game preseason. Still getting used to this, but interesting to see how Andy Reid has decided to take it. Now, one note on the quarterbacks, we get this also from Matt McMullen. Patrick Mahomes just flipped a pass behind his back to Isaiah Pacheco during 11-on-11. Pacheco caught the pass and got upfield for a touchdown. Crowd liked that one. Guys, we're going to see it. We're going to see the behind-the-back pass this season. What do you want to bet? Not a whole lot, but I will bet something maybe. At the wide receiver position, Peter F. Sweeney, and the F ain't for fun. Carson Wentz just hit Justyn Ross on what looked like a back shoulder fade for a 30-yard touchdown, and Ross told Joshua Williams about it. Williams took offense, and they had to be separated. Guys, I know. We've been here 100 times before. I have sang this song 100 times before. We've talked about individual plays in training camp 100 times before. But let me break this down. Let me take a moment right here with this play for some specific reasons. So obviously, we're here to talk about Justyn Ross. We're here to talk about the wide receiver who's going to definitely make the team and an impact this year. Now, why is this a big deal? It's just a one reception in training camp, etc., etc. Well, that one reception was a 30-yard touchdown. That is a pretty good play, regardless of who you are. But it gets even better than that. It was a back shoulder fade. Notable for 2 reasons. Number 1, this is exactly the kind of thing that a guy like Justyn Ross can be very, very good. A big wide receiver with down the field ball tracking capabilities, back shoulder fades are a good way to exploit this guy, a guy like this, as talent. Number 2, it's a very difficult completion to make. Down the field, back shoulder fade is not easy. If you think it is, I defy you, go out in the backyard with someone and just do it on a 10-yard basis. It is difficult to adjust and find that ball, and when you're doing it 30 yards downfield, meaning 30 yards doesn't measure from the quarterback, it measures from the line of scrimmage. So you're tracking this ball for 35, 40 yards in the air. It's not an easy reception. This is a high level of difficulty reception. The number 4 reason that we're talking about this is it came from a backup quarterback. Now, all the respect in the world to Carson Wentz, we have seen 10 years? How long has Carson Wentz been? Maybe not 10 years. How long has Carson Wentz been in the NFL? I probably should know this, but we have seen Carson Wentz in the NFL for a long time. We know that he is a good quarterback, not a starting quarterback. So the fact that this came from Carson Wentz and not Patrick Mahomes tells you that if he can get this, so from 2016, so almost 10 years, 8 years, Patrick Mahomes is going to throw this ball better than Carson Wentz. Regardless, Patrick Mahomes is going to throw this ball better than Carson Wentz, so it has a higher likelihood of landing. I shouldn't say landing. Landing means that it hits the ground. It has a higher percentage chance of hitting than does a pass from Carson Wentz. But the biggest thing another thing here is this. Justyn Ross is feeling himself. No pause. Justyn Ross told the corner, that just happened. Yeah, it happened. What are you going to do about it? Having that type of swagger, I don't think we've seen that from Justyn Ross since he's been in the NFL. We saw last season with Kadarius Toney just what loss of confidence can do to a guy. Kadarius Toney was in shambles last season, and his play fell off. So being in position where you do feel yourself, where you do feel good about what you're doing on the football field, that type of swagger can enhance a guy's game. Now, you don't want to see if he's not starting the fight, this is all day long. Go ahead and say it, Justyn Ross. Get hit in the face by a cornerback and take the yards as well, because it doesn't hurt when you get hit in the face by a cornerback wearing a helmet. But the final reason we have to talk about this, I know it's just one play, it's just one reception. Joshua Williams. Joshua Williams is good. Joshua Williams is a starting level cornerback in the NFL. Joshua Williams, it seemed, heading into this training camp, was the guy that these coaches wanted to ascend to that number 2 cornerback spot, number 1 outside cornerback spot, allowing Trent McDuffie to stay in the slot. This was a reception 30 yards downfield off of a backup quarterback over just Joshua Williams. Guys, Justyn Ross is making this team. Justyn Ross is... Now, my theory's up in the air still. There are no notes on Nico Remigio. I think they might be the same player because they cannot both impress on the same practice. Moving on, Charles Goldman gives us this. Put Chiefs wide receiver Rashied Rice in the 7-on-7 Hall of Fame. He's a dang cheat code. Hopefully, the Chiefs figure out how to... So this mid-level passing game that makes you a cheat code in the 7-on-7 drills is because there's no defensive lineman to hold you up. There's no defensive lineman to affect that arm angle trajectory. We talked about that a little bit yesterday with David Carr. But there's no reason that this can't translate to Sundays. Will it? Maybe. The route selection for Rashied Rice is going to be different this season. We are going to see him get pushed downfield further than he was last year. He will not be the line of scrimmage guy. He will be the 7 to 15 yards downfield guy that we started to see him become in the playoffs last year. And it looks like he is picking up this preseason where he left last offseason. From Pete, we get this, another promising sign. This has undoubtedly been Mecole Hardman's best day of training camp. Now, for this to pan out, for this to mean anything, Mecole Hardman has to make the roster. I do not believe, after last year's catastrophe with the New York Jets, I do not believe Mecole Hardman will have any trade value. The entirety of the NFL probably understands that, maybe Mecole Hardman's in his best place in Kansas City. We couldn't do anything with him because they couldn't get anything done with him in New York last season. He looked like a completely different player for the Jets last year, in that when I say he looked like, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, because you never saw him for the Jets. The Jets did not play Mecole Hardman. Now, the Jets had some other wide receivers that are fast guys. They had some guys that were younger guys, some guys that were going to be their guys that they obviously prioritized over a Mecole Hardman. But to not get any playing time is a pretty harsh indictment of Mecole Hardman in the NFL. So I do not foresee Mecole Hardman having any type of value to the Kansas City Chiefs outside of his play for the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think you're going to be able to trade him. So again, this calls into question the numbers game at the wide receiver spot. And again, I'm going to drop that depth chart video, I believe, later tonight. So man, I just don't know here. I just don't know what the wide receiver spot's going to look like for the Chiefs, because there's so many names that are at least interesting. So many names that are at least interesting. I think we have every reason to start to believe that perhaps the shine is wearing off of Kadarius Toney at this point, because he has not practiced completely in so long. At this point, I would be trying to shine him up and ship him out. If it were me, that's what I would be doing. He has so much talent. His movement skills are unrivaled in the entirety of the NFL, and that says a lot. When the guy steps on the field in the NFL and looks like a different breed, the way Patrick Mahomes does, right? He's the Patrick Mahomes of movement skills. Now, this does not translate for a whole lot if you're not catching the football while you're a wide receiver, and we haven't really seen him go back to those running back drills that we saw early in training camp. So maybe the clock is running out on Kadarius Toney. I do think, unlike Mecole Hardman, Kadarius Toney would have some type of trade value. Not a lot. You're not getting a first rounder out of Kadarius Toney. You're not getting anything in measure to what you traded for Kadarius Toney in response to Kadarius Toney, but to not come out of the Kadarius Toney experiment empty-handed would be a pretty big win for this organization. On the offensive line, Harold R. Kuntz gives us this. Wanya Morris went down, favoring his right knee, but did walk off on his own power. And later, Harold gives us this. And Morris is now taking reps during the long drive period. Either way, he's fighting through some pain to try to prove that he should be the team's starting left tackle. Now, I don't normally talk about the injuries on these videos because I don't know how much you can read into them until there is an actual diagnosis. The Chiefs are going to be cautious with their players in the preseason and in training camp, so if a guy misses practice, it might not be for a big deal. If a guy leaves practice, it might not be for a big deal. They don't have a diagnosis right there on the field. How could they? So if you're saying that your ankle is tweaked, we're going to go ahead and take you off the field. That said, the reason I'm talking about this injury is that he did come back. Wanya Morris did come back to practice. So just looking at it, I think probably what happened is he jammed his knee. Maybe a hyperextension, but I don't think so. And if you've ever jammed your knee, you know that, yeah, it's painful, but it's more debilitating than painful. And it's sort of prohibitive more than it is an injury, right? So I think that it hurts. It hurts. And it makes you are sort of subconsciously ginger or about it, right? So it can be debilitating, but probably not something that you're really going to aggravate and make worse by going on. The reason I'm talking about it really is Wanya Morris decided, no, this is football. I am hurt, probably not injured. I have a job to win. I'm going back on the field. This is playoff form in training camp for Wanya Morris, and I think probably Wanya Morris is looking at the trajectory of his NFL career and says, look, this Kingsley Suamataia guy is a rookie. If he starts over me in my second season, probably means that I'm going to be a backup for my first 4 years in the NFL. I hesitate to agree with that. I think that he very well could be a right tackle. I think that, so we haven't seen him back at left guard after the experiment a couple days ago, I think it was. So maybe not a left guard, but I think that there is perhaps offensive guard in his future. Charles also gives us this. Chiefs rookie left tackle Kingsley Suamataia just had back-to-back offensive line, defensive line one-on-one reps against Mike Danna and George Karlaftis. Pushed Danna up the arc, stonewalled a bull rush from Karlaftis. He's getting better day by day. He's getting better by the day, I guess I should say. I should read that as it was tweeted out. Look, again, these are one-on-one drills. This is not football. They're drills, not 11 on 11. That said, these drills seriously favor the defensive lineman. Seriously favor the defensive lineman because if he's a left tackle, his right shoulder is going to be the one right next to Joe Thuney in 11 on 11. But in one-on-one, that extra buffer is not there. So the defensive lineman gets to come inside if he wants willy-nilly, scot-free. There's no one there that he might run into. There's no back chipping. It is one-on-one, and the offensive lineman is basically in this drill set up to fail. Mike Danna is no slouch. George Karlaftis is certainly no slouch. And to stonewall a bull rush from George Karlaftis. Look, maybe you could tell Shakira no. Maybe. But could you tell Shakira no while she's doing that hip belly thing, right? That's her move. That's what she does. Maybe this is a bad analogy. Anyway, that bull rush is George Karlaftis' move. You didn't think you were going to get a Shakira-George Karlaftis comparison today, did you? You did not. Here it is. Probably it's a pretty good one. Stonewalling a bull rush from George Karlaftis is impressive. If this is the guy, and we've seen this day by day with Kingsley Suamataia. Tell me if I'm getting that right now. People have stopped telling me I'm getting it so wrong. So I'm just going to assume that it's right now. and keep going. Where was I? Yes, Kingsley has gotten better day by day. Day by day, he has gotten better. And like I said a couple days ago, maybe it was last week, there was a lot of noise around Kingsley Suamataia in the first round. A lot of noise, and a lot of it started late. And that's real. So guys who you start hearing first round buzz about really, really late, but really, really loud, normally that's where the momentum is at. A lot of times this is with quarterbacks, right? Those quarterbacks that somebody likes him, but not really. Mac Jones, for example. Nobody was really talking about Mac Jones in the first round until like a week before the draft, when everybody just said, oh yeah, he's a first rounder. All of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. The buzz around Kingsley Suamataia in the first round, if this is the guy he is, was warranted. If this is the guy he is, the Kansas City Chiefs just got a first round talent in the second round, and now you're banking on Xavier Worthy being the first round talent that you spent a first rounder on. At the tight end position, we get this from Nick Jacobs. Mahomes off the PA, the play action. He lofts one up to Wiley in the back of the end zone on the rollout for the touchdown. This used to be the Travis Kelce special before Patrick Mahomes came to town. Alex Smith to Travis Kelce off the play action was how Travis Kelce ascended to Travis Kelce. He didn't fully become Travis Kelce until Patrick Mahomes was pulling the trigger, but the reason for that, for this being the Travis Kelce, Alex Smith special, is really simple. This is a generic tight end special. Now, what makes Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce so special? They're on the same page all the time. Them being on the same page all the time means Travis Kelce does not have to run the route that Travis Kelce was supposed to run, and it's going to be okay, because Patrick Mahomes is not going to throw the ball somewhere where Travis Kelce is not, because they understand each other, and Patrick knows that Travis can read a defense, and Travis has the ability to exploit the defense and not put Mahomes in a bad position by being in a bad spot, which would ruin the play, right? This is a good thing. Seeing this generic tight end quarterback connection between Patrick Mahomes and Jared Wiley, in my opinion, means they are actually grooming Jared Wiley to have a designated role in this offense. They're giving him traditional tight end stuff to do, because that is where you start. The penultimate note that I have on the list for today comes from Charles Goldman. Chiefs running back Deneric Prince definitely has some juice when he gets to the open field. That second gear is noticeable. If I were to have a criticism of Isaiah Pacheco, one of the things that I would say is that he has great speed, but we don't really get to see it. I don't know if it's his vision. I don't know if it's his running style. I don't know if it is any number of things that is happening out there. We don't get to see him on many breakaway runs. Can't tell you why. He undoubtedly has a better offensive line than did, I'm going to say it, I'm going to use his name. He undoubtedly has a better offensive line than did Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt had tons of breakaway plays. Now, we haven't seen Isaiah Pacheco play with the type of explosive offense that Kareem Hunt benefited from. So Kareem Hunt has had some heavier boxes than did Isaiah Pacheco has had some heavier boxes than did Kareem Hunt. I think I messed that up. So, that being said, man, Deneric Prince is going to make this team. I think Deneric Prince is going to be the backup running back. I think that Deneric Prince and Isaiah Pacheco are going to be a great 1-2 punch. And he is going to ironically look faster than Isaiah Pacheco. I'm just going to say it. I think he's going to look ironically faster than Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco ran a 4.37 40-yard dash, I believe. Deneric Prince a 4.45. So some guys just have big play potential, and some guys are your every down chug away back, right? I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm wrong on Deneric Prince. Maybe I am, but this is how I feel about Deneric Prince. And the final note that I have from today's practice comes to us from Charles. Not a great start for the Chiefs offense in 11s. First and second team go 3 and out. Nice forced incompletions by safety Brian Cook and cornerback Joshua Williams. This would seem to be a bad thing for the offense, but again, it's training camp. What you're doing is every positive that you have is a negative for someone else on the same team. Every negative that you have is a positive for someone else on the same team. I think that really, more than this being a negative on the offense, it is a positive for the defense. The defense knows what they're doing. The defense lost L'Jarius Sneed. The defense lost Willie Gay. Kind of that's it. This was, last year, one of the top defenses in the NFL. This was a record-setting defense for the Kansas City Chiefs. This was a defense that really kept them in a whole lot of games, and it appears they haven't lost a step. Now, will you rue the day that L'Jarius Sneed was traded? Eventually. Eventually, someone's going to make a play on the Kansas City Chiefs, and you're going to be sitting there on Sunday and think, Sneed would have stopped that. Would he or not, we don't know, but he did stop an awful lot of everything last year. So, this offense is not going to be snuffed out. Not by a whole lot of people, not by a whole lot of ever. This offense is going to be explosive. This offense is going to make plays. The fact that the defense is able to utterly shut them down, even in training camp, that's a big deal. So we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the offense, and understandably so. It's been a couple years since we've seen Patrick Mahomes get to Patrick Mahomes. It's been a couple years since we have had an explosive offense. But this defense is going to be good again. This defense is absolutely going to be good again. Hopefully Chris Jones is in shape because he's not practicing again this year, but for a different reason. But if they can figure, and this is something else we're going to get into on the depth chart video later, there are some telling signs of that defensive tackle position that they maybe got some things figured out. So that's all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Kansas City Chiefs are the only thing that I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And I hope to have you back for the next one.